disgusting. And you should be damn ashamed of yourself. And I don't believe that. And I'm not going to fight until people like you do not have a place to come on here on my campus that I paid a school to go to and spew your fucking lies. I have a personal question for you. Are your beliefs about abortion and life and conception, does that have anything to do with your personal religious beliefs? Your belief that life begins at conception, that is not shared by a lot of people. It's not shared by me. It's not shared by any of my friends.
It's not necessarily something that has to be shared. It's a fact. If I say the sky is blue, I don't believe the sky is blue. It doesn't matter. The sky remains blue.
So I'm asking you, why should your moral belief be the end all be all and make the law and take away the right to a clean, safe abortion for women to have? And the fact that you can sit here and say that the rapist baby, the seed, or whatever you want to call it,
they always love to use that exception, and it's not as common as people think, and they will always throw that in exception. I want to see how she responds to that.
In your belly, and that it's not born yet, that you should be forced to have that. It's disgusting. And the fact that you can come over here and have an entire career based off of this, and I'm not done speaking. And then you can sit here and
were you raised by dogs? Excuse me. And that's like the third time I've seen something like this. Take it easy. Cause now I can't even hear you. What relax. You asked me a question, let me answer it. Goodness gracious.
Over here and have an entire career based off of this, and I'm not done speaking. And then you can sit here in front of my friend who was a victim of rape and say that she should have that baby. When you start raising your voice to make an argument, I already know you're wrong. Or I'm not even going to continue the argument with you. You came and asked a question. It ain't even been freaking 30 seconds you've been here. You yelling at me. You raising your voice. Like, come on. What kind of civil discussion do you expect to come from this? Agreements, conclusions do you expect to come from this if you're just gonna yell at me? And clearly you've already come with your own prejudice, your own feelings, because you already yelling and it's only been like 20 seconds. My friend who was a victim of rape and say that she should have that baby, it's disgusting. And you should be damn ashamed of yourself, and I don't believe that, and I'm not gonna fight until people like you do not have a place to come on here on my campus that I paid a school to go to and spew your fucking lies.
Well, I believe in the First Amendment. Do you believe in the First Amendment?
Do you?
Do you believe in the First Amendment? I've allowed you to sit here and scream at me for an hour and a half.
I'm saying I don't believe that you should have the right to take away my access to a clean, safe abortion.
Relax. What is this?
As a human right, I have the right to have the autonomy over my own body. You have the right to your autonomy over your own body. We both get knocked up, have sex, both of us pregnant. You want to abort it? You don't want to abort it? Your decision. If I want to abort it, I'm going to fucking do that. Okay. So who are you to sit here and
so I don't want to own a slave, but you want to own a slave. Am I supposed to just sit around and say that?
Do not sit here in front of a microphone and compare owning a slave to me, you what?
This is insane. Because what is going on? That is a pretty good argument. That is a pretty good argument to what this girl just said. And I'm not even gonna lie, her face looks so stupid right now. I need to see what she's about to say.
Just sit around and
do not sit here in front of a microphone and compare owning a slave to me, you white fucking bitch. You have no idea to sit here and say this shit to me.
Ma'am, that is the...
Her parents must be ashamed. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. She one of those kids you call the parents of. It's just like, you're in the wrong. The teacher's in the wrong. Everyone's in the wrong. My kid is perfectly fine. And then you see this. No, then you see this. Then you see this. And it's like, because growing up, literally, my parents used to be like, you mess up in school, the first thing they're going to be like is, what is happening at home? Because all I'm seeing here is what is happening at home or what happened with the friends. She came in here ready to fight. She doesn't want to hear your side. She doesn't want to hear your discussion. She doesn't want to hear any points you may have. She doesn't want to see if maybe you might be right. She does not care what you have to say. And when you start resorting to just calling someone the B word, using profanity, yelling and screaming, you look like a toddler. Like, I'm not going to take you seriously. Any other person is just out because there's no point here. I'm dealing with a fool. Like, there's no point in here in me discussing with you. I need to know how much more.
To me, you white fucking bitch! You have no idea to sit here and say this shit to me.
Ma'am, that is the argument you just made.
No, it's not. No, it is not. That is your incorrect interpretation. That is a logical fallacy. You think you can sit here and go ring around the rosy with me?
Argument. Are you done with your question? Because you asked me like.
You haven't answered anything. You've actually just made a statement and completely deterred my argument in a completely different way. Oh, do you think that you can own a slave? If I want to own a slave, can I own a slave? How can you sit here with a straight face and say that to me? How is you
yeah.
not embarrassed of yourself?
Okay, do you want me to answer your question? How can you sit here and deny biology?
How can you sit here and deny biology? I'm gonna ask you the same question.
You're not asking anything. You just yelling. What
you want
is
me to
this?
answer your questions? If you will sit down, I will answer your questions.
I'm gonna stand right here and I want you
well,
to
then you
tell
guys
me
stop
how
talking
you think it's
so I can
okay to
answer your
compare
questions.
owning a slave to having an abortion. It
Yes.
is not even in the same ballpark.
Yes, because
Black people were not seen as people in this country.
yes,
they were
just like what you've
enslaved.
done time and time again tonight to an unborn child. You have argued.
Unborn child, not living.
you all-
Black
They are
people
living.
already existed. They were born.
Unborn
they were
children are
like
living,
literally
man.
born into slavery.
Would you like
Before that girl continues in rage, because she's just not listening. The problem is that it's getting to a point where abortion is being used as birth control. And that's the real problem. It's one thing, obviously, if there's the abusive cases, obviously the RAPE'd ones, if there's the incest, all these different things. The problem, though, is that is a small section of the majority. A majority of these women are getting abortions for reasons that are not okay. It just isn't. And especially nowadays, before then, there's, like I said, incest, RIPD, abuse, all these different things, understandable, and then, it's a case-by-case basis. But majority right now, it's like, I had unprotected sex, let me go kill the baby. No. And then on top of that, just because you do it doesn't mean it's right. Just because it's allowed doesn't mean it's right. What we don't talk about enough is the ramifications of getting an abortion that people it's like they completely avoid. It's a traumatizing experience. You just lost a kid. Like a kid has just died. And it's like, just a clump of cells, it doesn't matter. That's not okay. And the fact that as a society, it's like we should become desensitized to children literally dying and just make it a normal thing that women want to be able to have sex and not have to deal with the ramifications of having unprotected sex. It's like, guys, let's be serious here. You just took the life of someone. And then the argument that I've been hearing recently, I didn't even know about, was how if someone kills a pregnant woman, you've killed two people. So clearly there's a baby there. But people who are pro-choice don't like to believe in stuff like that, or like they like to move the goalposts and be like, well, that doesn't count. Obviously the baby matters. But in stuff like this, the baby doesn't matter. I genuinely believe that there should be restrictions within abortion. I don't know if it should necessarily be illegal, but it should definitely be something where whenever someone wants to go through with an abortion, there's an evaluation done, there's some talking done. From the stories that I've heard, from the stories that I've read, it's like you can just go in, get it done. That is not how it's supposed to be. This is not something of small importance. It should not be looked at as something that you could just do. It's something that happens. It's regular. Everyone does. No. It should be a rarity because it shouldn't be common to just be killing kids. If the decision was made to have unprotected sex, then you should understand the consequence of that is going to be a child. Because you don't want to raise that child does not mean you should be allowed to kill it. That child deserves a life. That child deserves to have their own thoughts and feelings and become a great human being. They deserve to live. Not killing them because it's like, oh, I don't have the financial, I don't have this, I don't have that. Then you work around it. You use the birth control appropriately. Use the condoms as best as you can. You do what you gotta do to stop this, because abortion is not a small thing. It's not something that should just be so easy to be done. It should be like, oh, let's talk it through. What's happening? Why are we doing this? What was the reason? What is the case? And one can be like, oh, that's too personal. No, it's not. When it comes to a child's life that you are now about to take away, you should have a deep conversation about, is this worth it? Because then what people don't like to talk about is the ramifications of having said abortion. You may not be able to have kids again. The experience is different for a lot of women. Some of them are coming out and they talk about how limb by limb is being ripped apart. There are graphic images, stories that you can read online. Like, it's not at all something that we should bring it down to being, it's not traumatizing. It's like when you get a little shot, like a little flu vaccine or something like that. It's just something small. It's nothing big. It should not be made to a point where if you come in and say you want to have an abortion, they look at you as just, all right, come with us. That is not what it's supposed to be at all.
Unborn child, not living. Black people already existed. They were born.
Unborn children are
like
living,
literally
man.
born into slavery.
Would you like me to answer your questions? I can't answer if you keep screaming at me. Do you want me to answer your questions?
I'm waiting.
Are you going to stop
Are
talking?
you going to answer my question?
Yes.
Or are you going to sit here and look stupid?
Yo, where's her parents? Where are her parents? Because I would really fly in and slap the crap out this girl. Ain't no way. You're not gonna embarrass me on the freaking internet acting this stupid. Relax. You are talking to someone to have an engaging and beneficial conversation. You can't go 2 seconds without cursing and yelling at this girl. Are you a child? Yo.
I'm quiet right now. I'm quiet.
This is why
You
we
were
have
not
the
quiet
First
at
Amendment
all.
today.
What are you talking about?
So, no. When we talk about abortion, we talk about the living...
Oh, my... People like her, she gotta be careful. Because dumb ish like this will get you really in trouble one day. You do that to the wrong person, you are done for. Because that's
present inside of a mother's womb. Biology confirms this fact. This is not a religious belief that I hold. This is a scientific fact. The law of biogenesis says like begets like. We know the definition of life, and we know what's inside of a mother is living because that child is growing. You can call the child a fetus, a clump of cells, whatever, but the fact is that entity, which is a member of our human species, because two humans can't reproduce anything other besides a human, is in fact alive. The arguments that you're making to support your extremist beliefs to justify abortion is that
basic
the
human
child
right that
in
you're
the
trying to
womb
take away
doesn't
from
have
me.
value. The argument you're trying to and failing to make, in the argument that you really
You don't get to
should be
sit here and tell me what my
on-
argument is. If you want to
Ma'am,
answer
you
my
said you'd be
question, then
quiet.
answer my question.
Ma'am, you said you'd be quiet.
Answer the
The
question.
argument you're failing to make, and what argument you should be making, is that you believe that the human inside of the womb has less value than a woman, and that certain people get
Yes,
to
it
decide.
does, because it's her body,
Exactly.
her choice.
Exactly.
Her body,
That is
exactly.
your
Her body,
That is
her
not-
choice.
That is your argument. It is not that it's not a human being or that's living, because that's flat out denying biology. We know
They're
it's
their
living,
own
and we know
being.
it's a human being.
What else would
What
it
you're
be?
arguing is that child doesn't have the same right to life as his or her mother, because you have decided, and what you said during your comments was that if I got pregnant and chose not to have an abortion, I can do that, but you can choose to have abortion because the mother gets to decide the value of that person.
The mother, it's the mother's child. That's exactly what
you're
I'm
not letting
saying.
me answer your question.
So you're allowed to kill the child. This is where the conversation comes up. Is it actually murder? Because you now have voluntarily, off the kid. You went and committed an abortion. Did you kill the child? Especially if it wasn't of a special case, a special reason. This is where these conversations start to happen, because what was the point of it then? You had unprotected sex, so you wanted to get rid of the baby? That's usually the reason for a lot of women nowadays. But most people would not be okay with that, or anyone who has a little bit of sense or has a heart would understand that that is not a viable reason. You had unprotected sex, let the baby live. That is what it's supposed to be. Obviously, the bad ones with the abuse and assault and things like that, case by case, you deal with that accordingly, evaluation. But if you know you had unprotected sex and now you want to kill the baby, that is a result of your unprotected sex. If abortions were to be heavily evaluated like that, these women would not be allowed to get it, because that's not a good reason.
Value of that person.
The mother,
that is
it's
exactly,
the mother's child. That's
Bam,
exactly what
you're
I'm
not letting me answer your question. That's exactly what
Shut up.
happened. That's exactly what happened in pre-Civil War America. You can choose to assign value to black
And that's the worst thing about having someone yelling and acting a fool. I can't even hear her. Like, I'm too busy focusing on what this bozo is gonna do next. Like, every single thing, I'm looking back at her, I'm looking back. I can't even hear Christy break down her argument. I'm listening, of course, but it's just like, this is what happens when you have come to your freaking debate and they can't argue. They're just yelling and screaming like they're freaking DW.
Americans, depending on what you felt like. You could say, I am against slavery because I know these people are human beings that have value and no one has the right to own another human person. But if I was a plantation owner in the South, I could say, they have some value, but they don't have full value because I deem it.
She's just not even listening. This girl did not come for a debate. She came here to yell at this woman, curse her out, get her off the campus, maybe get her banned. This is a train wreck.
It's a slippery slope. And that is not, by the way, that is not a religious belief. This is a scientific belief that this is a human being. Where we can differ on our belief is the value we assign. No, there's other people behind you. There's value that you assign to human beings.
She said I could ask.
That is the actual debatable question here today.
No,
is what is the value we assign to human beings in the womb? Does a human being in the womb have the same value, the same right to life as other people, or do they not? That is the true pro-abortion argument. That if you would have taken an hour to research, you could have come and made. But you failed to do that because you denied biology.
Can I ask my question
No,
now?
you can get behind the line. Back the line.
Yeah, let her know.
You can get in the back of the line. She's been waiting
argument
patiently.
and idea that you have of what we believe in and push it back in my face, but it's not going to work. Your
You
little
can get in the back of the line.
logical fallacy, ring around the rosy, will not work on us. You disgust me, and if
All right,
biology...
she's been waiting to speak, ma'am.
You can
You're
You
not
can
allowing
go.
other women to speak.
You can go.
Ew!
Why? That whole group, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I feel bad for whoever even befriends this, like, let alone marries this, because ain't no way. You did not just peaceful debate, peaceful discussion. We just here to argue whatever. You got it in your bag, in your emotions, didn't hear a word this woman said, and then to finish it off, you say to suck my thing. Absolutely pathetic. You have lost every credibility. Just, wow. Like, it's the parents' fault, right? Who else do we blame? Like, I blame the friends, right? I blame the friends, but I also blame the parents. In a way, like, because this stupidity doesn't just happen out of nowhere. This starts from childhood. But Christy held it down, though, so that's good.